Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Daz Reacts back with another banger of a video, man. This one is part two. Not four. Part two. Part two of Battle of France. So far, the first part was super interesting. We got all the way up to the point to Dunkirk. Man, they are fighting for their lives right now. And if you guys haven't already, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments what you guys want me to react to. Let me know in the comments where you guys are from. If you guys are from France, if you guys are from Germany, if you guys are from England, if you guys are from Taiwan, I don't know. Just let me know. I always find it interesting to see where my viewers are from. Without further ado, we're gonna finish this one today. And it's been super interesting so far. So let's get it.
Around the town, British and French units fight sacrificial rearguard actions to keep the Germans at bay. The last men escape on June 4th, and in all, about 700 British and 160 French vessels of all types managed to evacuate 193,000 British and 145,000 French troops. 88,000 mostly French troops defending the evacuation route are forced to surrender.
A lot of people were pulled out. And with the 2.8 million or whatever, I'm assuming not all of them died and there are only 145,000 French troops left. Plus the 88 that surrendered. There's no way they wiped them all out like that, right?
German aircraft managed to sink 20 Allied warships and damaged dozens more. Saving the BEF is an even more remarkable feat given the sudden surrender of the Belgian army on May 28th, without consulting the British or French. King Leopold controversially decides to give up and become a prisoner of the Germans. Even though the Allies do not plan to evacuate Belgian troops, they're outraged. Renault calls King Leopold a pig, and former British Prime Minister David Lloyd George calls his actions, quote, a sample of perfidy and poltroonery. The collapse of the Allied front also worsens tensions in London.
I don't know, man. I feel like you can't really fault Belgium, right? They were neutral. They know they're a tiny country. They can't hold off Germany at this time, right? Like, I mean, what do they expect them to do? Just die? I mean, I don't know, squad. I don't know.
In Paris, Pétain and Pétain pressure Renault to pursue a separate peace with Germany, but he refuses. British Foreign Minister Halifax suggests peace talks via neutral Italy, but Churchill won't hear of it.
Even if we are defeated, we won't be any worse off than if we stop fighting now.
Thanks.
We must avoid being dragged into the abyss with France.
Every time I hit a bottleneck, I build a new AI employee to crush it. I used to say that I had one AI employee working.
Damn, so it seems like, you know, at least the leader, like the main leader of the UK, which is Churchill, seemed like he was a ride or die for France, you know? He knew what happened. He probably knew he kind of started it, or if he started it, but he I mean, obviously Germany started it, but he wanted to go to war first, but he knows that, you know, he kind of put a little pressure on France.
With the BEF and the best French units either evacuated without their heavy weapons or captured, the Germans now turn their attention to the rest of the French army. South of the Allied disaster at Dunkirk, the front line runs along the Somme and Aisne rivers, and the Germans already have several bridgeheads. The Abbeville bridgehead threatens the remaining ports, which the second BEF needs for supply. Churchill has ordered 300,000 fresh British troops to France despite the risks to, as he says, give the French the feeling that they're not alone. General Alan Brooke is not impressed.
It's impossible to give a corpse any kind of feeling, and the French army is in fact dead.
But there is some fight in the French yet. On May 27th, the French 7th Army attacks the Abbeville bridgehead, a battle that includes units of Charles de Gaulle's division and Manstein's corps. The B-1 bis tanks caused some German units to panic, but several 88mm German anti-aircraft batteries used in a ground roll stopped the piecemeal Allied armored attacks and preserved the German bridgehead. The Germans then launch Case Red on June 5th. Their plan is to cross the Somme and the Aisne and quickly drive south to break the French army before it can reorganize. First, Army Group B's 3 armies will advance to the Seine, Oise, and Aisne rivers near Paris. Then, Army Groups A and B will strike the main blow east of Paris towards Troyes and Saint-Dizier. Army Group C will then start the 3rd phase by breaking the Maginot Line at Saarbrücken and continue the 4th phase by crossing the Rhine at Colmar. And the Germans now have twice as many divisions as the Allies. Weygand calls on French troops to defend their positions to the death, since the fate of France depends on the coming battle. He also introduces a new defensive tactic to defeat deep penetrations of German armor. French troops build so-called hérissons, or hedgehogs, fortified village and forest positions meant for all-round defense.
One thing I want to say about France that I absolutely love, by the way, that weapon looks badass. I was muted just now on accident, but I absolutely love Hennessy. The liquor Hennessy is my favorite liquor all time. Hands down. You guys did your thing in there. Wait, is that from France? Hennessy is from France. I remember I seen I could do it on like the $200 bottle. And I was like, I don't know who this man is, but I respect him. You know what I'm saying? Is Hennessy is that a city? I want to say it's a city in France, right? Let me know in the comments.
These are to hold up German infantry, while Allied tanks are to take on German armor when it breaks through. At first, the hedgehogs work, as Luftwaffe General von Richthofen writes in his diary.
What looked this morning like a success turned out to be nothing. The French are hard and tough. They've fortified all villages. Our tanks drive through, but the French lay low and pop up when our infantry tries to follow the tanks. The infantry can't screen for the tanks, so the tanks just drive on without them. The infantry can't make progress against the all-round defenses of the village. That's how everything bogs down.
On June 5th and 6th, there's heavy fighting south of the Somme. Many troops obey Weygand and fight to the death. In some places, the Germans also murder French African colonial soldiers after they've surrendered. In fact, overall in the campaign, SS and Wehrmacht troops kill at least 3,000 French African and nearly 200 British and French prisoners, and several massacres of civilians take place, like at Vingt and Oigny.
Oh my god, bro. That's sad, man. And I'm gonna tell you why it's sad. It's not just because they're black, and I know the main reason why the Germans probably killed them is because they're black and from Africa, right? But the reason why it's personal to me. My grandpa, my dad's dad, he fought in World War II. Okay, yeah, he was older, right? I never met him. It's like 1997. He died in 1997, I should say. But he fought in the all-black battalion. He got sent to Germany, like in Europe, in the front lines. And in that time, America was at its peak in racism, like that, or not, I won't say the peak. Obviously, we knew about the slaves and all that since 1400s or whatever. But now that we're considered humans and citizens, it was really bad, right? This and all the way into like the 70s. It's still pretty bad now, but yeah. So he fought an all-black battalion, right? Fought in the war, won. His squad did great, or platoon. Came back on ships, right? When he came back to the East Coast, the all-black battalions, when they came out, bro, people were spitting on them and telling them to go back where they came from, calling them, the hard R, the N-words. Like, that's why I feel really bad when I saw that photo of the black soldiers putting their lives on the line for the French, right? Same difference. French Africans were fighting for you guys, and that's how they treated them. They just executed them. It's messed up, bro.
At one of the massacres of African troops, a German officer explains his actions to his French counterpart.
An inferior race does not deserve to fight such a civilizing race as the German race.
On June 6th, though, the Germans
bro.
break through along the Chemin des Dames and cross the Aisne and cross the Somme in 2 places. Allied units along the Somme estuary retreat to the river Brel. Again, the German tanks are too fast, and they outflank the new Allied position by nightfall. On the 7th, General Hermann Hoth's panzers reach the crossroads at Forges-les-Eaux, a move that splits the French 10th Army in two. Hoth wants to press on towards the rivers Seine and Rouen, but his superiors are nervous about his flanks, since Allied resistance holds up German infantry. Rommel, however, orders his 7th Division to race to the Seine without waiting for permission, not the only time German commanders improvise aggressively in this campaign. The French blow the Rouen bridges in time, but Hoth's breakthrough forces a general retreat which damages Allied morale. The Germans note that even French armored units that could have caused them problems avoid engagements, like at Otipin.
The regiment met several lone enemy tanks, which retreated as soon as fired upon. Some crews left their vehicles without defending themselves.
Huh? He didn't say a Panzer division pulled up. He said as soon as they got contact, bro. Why are we retreating? You're in a tank, bro. You're in the safest vehicle out there. Bro, fight to the death for your damn country, bro. Think about your wife, your kids. I promise you, I'm going down my shield.
On June 9th, the second phase of Case Red begins. Here as well, the Germans find many French fight hard. Army Group A reports mention effective French artillery fire and organized defenses. But other parts of the French army are crumbling, as a French staff officer notes.
A stunned and haggard herd, complete mixture of units, regiments, and services. It's not so much a question of morale. These people are disoriented. They don't know what's happening to them. The sight of an airplane terrifies them.
Soon the Germans break through everywhere. Guderian's panzers race south from the Aisne into the French rear, Manstein's infantry cross the Seine, and 9th Army reaches the River Marne, which they cross the next day. The British decide the military situation is hopeless and withdraw the 200,000 men of the 2nd BEF. Béguin declares the war is lost and France must make peace, but Reynaud tells him to fight on.
Wow, and you gotta kind of put this in perspective, man. You know, in the start of the war, people they didn't really know the gravity of it. We didn't even know about the SS troops in Germany, you know, doing what they're doing to the Jewish people. But like, they didn't think it was gonna be this bad. At this point, I feel like hundreds of thousands of Frenchmen have died in this situation. They were not thinking that. You know, it's just a harrowing and sad situation. Especially that video where it shows like the death tolls and stuff, man. Like, RIP to all the brave soldiers of every country that wasn't doing anything vile and egregious to humans. You stood on your 10 toes and defended your country. I respect you, right? I respect the German soldiers for doing what they thought was right. Not the SS. I'm not talking about the SS, but most German soldiers did not know they were doing that to Jews, okay? You guys need to know that. The Frenchmen, it's not your guys' fault that you guys had weak leadership at this time that wasn't coming up with good contingency plans and all that, right? I would be scared too, bro. Just seen 100,000 people die. You know, you don't think the Americans were scared when they were storming Normandy? I promise to God, some of them pissed their pants and probably pooped on themselves and passed out and started throwing up before them things dropped. 100%. That's why I say I respect everybody from every country that fights for their country because they think it's the right thing to do. Dang.
You are taking Hitler for Wilhelm I, the old gentleman who took Alsace-Lorraine from us, and that was that. But Hitler is Genghis Khan.
The Germans enter Paris on June 14th, same day the 3rd and 4th phases of the German offensive begin. Verdun, symbol of French resistance in the First World War, falls on the 16th, and the Germans reach the River Loire and the Swiss border. The French army is in tatters. Politically, the news is all bad for the Allies as well. On June 10th, Italy declares war on them, and Norway surrenders. By the 16th, most French cabinet ministers want an armistice, and Pétain threatens to resign if Reynaud doesn't ask for one, a fatal blow to the government. Reynaud asks President Roosevelt for help, but receives only empathy. London proposes that France and Britain unite as one state to continue the war, but Pétain suspects it's a British plot to take French colonies and calls it a marriage to a corpse.
What you guys think about it now, hindsight? I mean, obviously hindsight, like, eventually the Allies won the war. Allies liberated France. But do you guys think that he should have took upon that British and France become one state? Which I think there's so much political backfire to that, you know, just with the history of France and England, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how that would have worked out or what that would have looked like today. I feel like, what do you think it would have been called? I feel like they would just expanded it and called it Great Britain still. I don't think they would have put the French name in there, even though it should have been like Great. What you guys think? Great English Frenchman? I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Like, what would that one united thing be?
He also wants peace to avoid a potential communist uprising. Reynaud resigns, Pétain becomes premier and asks for an armistice the next day. Some Frenchmen do want to resist, like de Gaulle, who makes a radio broadcast from England calling on his countrymen to continue the fight. Few hear him on that day, but that will change.
And if you're in here, bro, whoever got offended by that picture I said about the cat, look at his mustache.
While armistice negotiations begin, Mussolini decides he wants an Italian victory before the war ends. On June 21st, 22 Italian divisions attack in the Alps, but just 6 French divisions don't let them get far. To preserve Italian feelings, the Germans send air and ground forces to hit the French from behind, and there's heavy fighting in the mountains June 23rd and 24th. Finally, on June 25th, 1940, the armistice takes effect. The Battle of France lasts 46 days and takes the lives of 2,900 Dutch, 7,500 Belgian, 12,500 British, 59,000 French, 45,000 German, and 1,250 Italian soldiers.
Even though that looks like small numbers on the grand scale of things, that's a lot of people, man. That's what? That's well over 150,000 lives, bro. That's 150,000 lives that had families, careers, children, wives, you know, like plans after the war, what they're gonna do. You guys gotta put stuff in perspective, squad. I know some of y'all don't.
Nearly 30,000 French, Dutch, and Belgian civilians die, while 8 million become refugees. Over 2 million French and Belgian soldiers become prisoners of war. The material destruction reflects the scale of the German victory. The Germans lose 1,800 planes and the Allies 3,020. The Germans lose 839 tanks and the Allies 3,300. Almost immediately, debates raged about why the German victory was so fast and so complete. General Gamelin blames the cowardice of the soldiers. De Gaulle says that the army was used improperly, and Pétain that the country was spiritually weak.
Man, I call cap, bro. I know Frenchmen are proud. I call cap. It's due to the lack of training, bro. They were not trained to persevere. Like, it's not their fault. I feel like whatever the government, however they were putting them in boot camp and all that, getting prepared for war, it was not done correctly. Like, bro, do not blame them. Like, they're humans. Of course, everyone's scared to die. Everyone doesn't want to die. You want to survive for as long as possible. It's human nature. You get submerged underwater, you can't breathe. You're not just going to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, this is it. Even though if you can't swim, bro, you're reaching, climbing, scratching, trying to get to that surface for air. Like, so I'm calling BS, bro. And F that dude that said that general, bro.
Officer, historian, and later resistance fighter Marc Bloch emphasizes the incompetence of the High Command.
That's what it is, the High Command. It's not the soldiers'
fault. In the
fault.
end, the Allies failed in the field because they could not react to the speed and power of the concentrated German armor. They underestimated the effects of tactical air power, they couldn't coordinate their actions to exploit German errors, and they suffered from infighting and partial loss of morale. The German victory shocks Allied governments and publics, including the neutral US, which reconsiders its global security, and comes as a welcome surprise in Germany. German propaganda celebrates the triumph as a blitzkrieg by the tanks, an image that persists until today, even though it was the infantry that did most of the fighting.
Wow.
German leaders now overestimate their own abilities and military strength, and since Hitler's prestige is at its peak, few will question him from now on. German leaders overlook their mistakes, like exposing their flanks and lacking ammunition supplies, because they got away with them. France is lost, but the war is not over. Britain is determined to fight, as are de Gaulle's Free French. Germany has already begun its next offensive. The skies of England fill with German aircraft, and planners in Berlin turn their attention to the east. Not even 5 years after the Battle of France, the tide had turned dramatically for Nazi Germany. American, British, and Free French troops were crossing the German border and approaching the Rhine River, while the Red Army was about to cross the Oder and storm the Reich capital, Berlin.
Damn, whoa. Squad, bro. What?
The Rhine River, while the
Look at all those people parachuting, man. Turn of the war. Turn of the war. Gosh, man. Gosh.
Red Army was about to cross the Oder and storm the Reich capital, Berlin, where Hitler is holding out in his bunker. If you're interested in these last weeks of the Second World War, which don't always get the attention in...
Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to react to the last weeks of the World War II, man. I don't know, bro. I thought this was super interesting. I thought it shed a lot of light on the situation. I knew about the Battle of France, but I didn't know like the details of it. I knew France got overran pretty easy, but when I was growing up, I kind of thought that like French just turned on allies, like they just partnered with them because they realized they're out muscled. But it doesn't look like that, and it looks like the people of Germany, most of the soldiers of Germany, wanted to fight back, but you know, high command, it was on some BS. They wasn't giving you guys proper training. They wasn't just thinking about the big picture. They didn't have a plan. How do you not have a plan? One thing that America does so good, I feel like, in wars, they have plan A. A don't work. They got plan B. B don't work. They got plan C. C don't work. They got plan D. D don't work. All the way down to Z. That's how you got to approach wars, man. You can never just expect to roll over somebody. Like, there's no way. But anyways, man, if you guys enjoyed this content, please let me know. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, your guys' thoughts, comments, concerns, feelings. I'd love to hear from them and reply to you. Catch y'all in the next video. Peace.